Failure may be inevitable, but there are scientific values behind it. We've got to learn how to fail faster so we can learn smarter. Join me and let's uncover the hack behind failures. In these episodes, we'll get inside the minds of the successful, discuss the failures they've had in the past, and analyze what made them tick so we all learn from it. Welcome to Set to Fail podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Indolos. Hey everybody, this is Joseph. You're listening to Set to Fail podcast, where we analyze all sorts of failures, pain points, turning adversity into potential business opportunities so we can all learn together. We help enable aspiring entrepreneurs, professionals embrace failing forward so they can execute smarter on their day-to-day tasks. So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest today, pretty innovative, Parker Olson. He's the founder of Forij, an award-winning granola enriched with vital brain nutrients derived from mushrooms. And at the same time, he's also certified psilocybin peer supporter. I hope I pronounced that right. Welcome.
Psilocybin, that's okay though.
Okay, psilocybin, yeah. Welcome to the show, Parker.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, Joseph. And yeah, it's been nice to kind of just briefly meet and interact over LinkedIn. It's cool how we can connect over this online platform. And next thing I know, we're chatting online and well, quote unquote in person, but voice to voice, which is awesome.
Awesome. Yes, and I'm actually very excited to have you on this episode because I don't know if you know, I have a small urban farm here in the
Oh,
Philippines, and we cultivate oyster mushrooms.
love that.
Yeah, we have tilapia because I'm a pescatarian. It's just not
Cool.
obvious with my with my body build. But I also have hydroponics, which is lettuce and pechay and
hmm
things like that. So I like how, and it's always like I mentioned to you earlier. It's always like eye opening for me. It's like, oh, okay, I can do this. We can do that. We can try to do different things, and we can use this as the raw material, and then maybe create something. So uh, you know, coming from your perspective, maybe we can have you do a quick overview of your background, the current business, as well as maybe your previous roles as well, depending on how you
Yeah,
work
sure.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, so my background, I guess where I would start it is I when I was in high school, I started taking or I took a neuroscience course through MIT and and the entire it was a year-long course and the entire course focused on how drugs interact with your brain. And there was a 2 month section on mushrooms and that section was really on psychedelic mushrooms. So psilocybin is a psychedelic mushroom, but for me it was just an awakening to say, man, everything I'd always known about mushrooms were very negative, right? It was like
Mhm.
this horrible drug and or you could eat them and they could kill you. But for me that was like the first time in my life where I saw like really how some of these mushrooms can impact your brain in a really positive way, and was like, huh, that's interesting. So I actually originally was pre-med at college or university in neuroscience. I ended up majoring in neuroscience alongside entrepreneurship. And so for me, again, it was just definitely like kind of this intrigue and like how are things and different substances and just like behaviors and actions really impacting your brain and neurochemistry and what are different ways to optimize that. And that was really where my passion, led like early on in life. So fast forward a couple years, I attempted to, or I started kind of a business in college, and I'll touch on that a little bit because it was kind of a failure. But went into a management consulting role and wasn't loving that. And for some reason, just wanted to start trying different diets. So I actually went pescatarian for 30 days and vegan
Mhm.
for 30 days and keto for 30 days and was just kind of documenting how I felt. And I ended up doing that for about 18 months. And in one of those months, I was supplementing with kind of mushrooms, like legal mushrooms. We're not talking psychedelic, but like medicinal mushrooms that have added benefits beyond just like protein.
Hmm.
So some of them that listening are maybe familiar with, like lion's mane or chaga, or cordyceps, even shiitake mushrooms have some medicinal benefits.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and felt really good. Like really loved how I was feeling, and so that I was like, whoa, this is really interesting, and it kind of re-sparked my interest in mushrooms. Diving really deep into the research, I joined the largest mycological society or mushroom club in the U.S. and sat on the board there for 2 years. And then I launched Forij. So Forij, we're a health food company, and we basically take different mushrooms and that have different added benefits, and we take them, and we extract those nutrients through like a powder or a liquid format, and then we
Hmm.
put them in everyday foods, and we test for test our finished good to make sure like the nutrients are available. So the idea is, you're helping people garner the benefits of these mushrooms just by
Hmm.
eating everyday foods that they'd already be eating, if
Wow.
that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And um, it helps really, provide alternative sources of food, right? Because, and enjoyable, right?
Hmm.
Enjoyable uh, delicacy, if you will. So, congratulations on that success. It's like, groundbreaking from my perspective. But,
Thanks.
I understand that, before you have all these, most likely you have, you've stumbled upon, challenges and things like that. So, what were some of your challenges at the beginning, and then, you know, you've learned a lot for sure. So, a lot of our listeners, I always tell to our audience that we don't dwell on the past failures in the show, but it's really about trying to create a community of shared success because we learn together, and
Hmm.
then hopefully avoid some of the mistakes that happened in the past. So, to your perspective, how did you overcome the challenges?
Yeah, and things I guess I would think about early on, like there were. It's funny, yeah. It's funny how when you look back on things that have been really challenging or frustrating in the past, often help to inform your current or your future self. And so one of these. So in college, I met the first guy I met at college. He had all these Twitter accounts, millions of followers, and was monetizing them through like basically driving traffic to a blog. Um, And anyways, I kind of got into it. I actually gave him all of my life savings, and I said, "Teach me how to do what you're doing."
Oh,
I didn't have much money. I had like $3,000. And anyways, he kind of helped show me and helped work with me, and I ended up building a Twitter account to like 300,000 followers. It wasn't massive, but it was relevant. It was called "Shit Your Parents Say."
hmm.
And it was really cool and exciting for a little bit. I still remember the like I basically would put out content on the Twitter platform, and then every like sixth tweet I would kind of put out an advertisement to like drive people to a blog, that had advertisements on it. So I ended up, I still remember my best day. I grossed $1,000 and was still like, whoa, this is
Oh,
the
wow.
coolest thing ever. I'm never gonna have to work again.
Mhm.
But soon it really started impacting my mental health. So in order to kind of manage that platform, like you have to be on the platform every 15 minutes,
Oh, wow.
trading retweets with other big accounts to kind of cross pollinate audiences. And I really just became overwhelmed, and I basically like started avoiding it, and the whole Twitter account ended up kind of just like crashing, and then it got hacked for a while.
Hmm.
And I look back on it, and I part of me initially was frustrated and being like, man, I can't believe I let the opportunity go, or that was kind of driving all of this mental health. But it was a really great lesson for me to say, okay, like if whatever you're doing, ultimately like is overwhelming, or gives you a lot of this kind of like horrible feeling of like anxiety or doubt, like it is not worth it, and ultimately like will have greater negative conflicts on your life. So that was kind of the takeaway for me, where it's like whatever you're doing, like if it is causing you dissatisfaction or making you unhappy on a day-to-day basis, like that is not a good place to be, and that is not a good place to invest your time.
That's wow.
And and so that was kind of like the first like takeaway for me. It's like, all right, like I want to be working on things where like I feel good about it and I'm not like super anxious all day. Um, and so that was kind of the first one. The second one was after college, and I, majored in entrepreneurship, and something that I was messing around with while I was in college
Mm-hmm.
was, um, it was actually a reversible pant idea, and I
Wow.
still have my prototype downstairs. I wish I could pull it up, but the idea was like you could buy a pair of pants, and on one, like on one side maybe it'd be like a normal khaki pant, and then you could turn them inside out, and it could be like a totally different pattern or a color, and so
Oh, wow.
you effectively have like two pair of pants.
Oh, nice.
um, and it was exciting and fun. And then, over time, I just like kind of stopped working on it. And like, kind of my learning there was like entrepreneurship and starting a company is not fun. It sucks. It's pretty horrible day to day. Like it's not like, oh, I'm having a grand old time, but it can be really fulfilling. And so if, whatever you're getting into, and I know, we want to chat later about like, if people are interested in entrepreneurship, like you better make sure like you're really passionate about what you're doing so that, when you have to do these tasks or these hard things that you don't really want to do, but you have to do them, it's a lot easier when you're really passionate on the subject, and can kind of keep your eyes on that grander vision, on that long-term plan, versus something where you're like, ooh, I just want to start a company. And for me, fashion and clothes wasn't like the craziest thing that I was passionate about. Just thought it was a cool idea. And so that was kind of my takeaway there. It's like, okay, entrepreneurship's really hard. Like you better be really passionate about whatever you're doing if you really want to go all in and start something. And those were takeaways for me, from kind of two, what I would consider failed ventures.
Love that. That's awesome. And I'm, pretty sure a lot of our audience as well can relate, especially if you're starting a business. Every we all think that everything is gonna be fine and dandy, but then boom, you hit with adversity, which unexpected, and those unexpected blows would be really totally could freeze you up. So, and based on my research, I learned you you were once uh, called a pirate for
Uh,
I get, got wrongfully accused. So maybe you can share that to our audience.
yeah. I was wrongfully arrested, and I spent a night in jail,
Oh my god!
for a felony, for grand theft vessel, which is why, yeah, I use the word pirate. Grand Theft Vessel means stealing a boat. And long story short, I was actually renting the boat and living on it.
Mhm.
And the owner, had me arrested and then threatened me for money. And yeah,
Oh my god!
definitely, from the outside looking in, was a pretty negative experience. I had to like pay for a lawyer, and having a potential felony on your record is not a great thing. And thankfully, it got dropped. Spending a night in jail, wasn't the greatest, but again, like I try and stay positive. Like there's just so much negativity in life, and so much
Mhm.
adversity, that I actually look thoughtfully back on spending my night in jail. um and it's something, and this was only about 6 months ago, so I was still building forage and doing my
Oh my
thing.
god!
And I actually found joy being in the jail cell that night.
Mm.
If for nothing else, it was kind of a, obviously a unique story and experience, but also for me, it was like, okay, like this is what being in jail is like. Don't mess up, dude. Like, don't do anything where like you could actually go to jail and like actually spend time in jail, because this is horrible, and like this is never something that you ever want to do again. And I was grateful that I had the opportunity to learn that.
And
Um,
it's just one
and
day.
yeah, and understand it. But yeah, I mean, it definitely was something where it was like, man, this could be horrible, and I'm glad we are learning this now, and do not do this again.
Yes. No, no. What I said. What I mean is, hope. I mean, you're blessed that it's just one day. It's not like
Totally.
sometimes it's like 90 days or whatever. So that's really shocking. And I didn't know that you actually went to jail. So I just thought that you got wrongfully accused. So happy that you were able to surpass that. So And now going back to your, to the company, Forge. So being a leader for a long time now, how do you, structure your team's, growth, your innovation, their mindset, as well as, their threshold to fail, and learning from a positive and constructive lens. How do you, have that in your culture?
Yeah, we definitely try and we have a couple rules, right? One, like you always need to be pushing the envelope, and like I would rather have someone fail at trying something new and innovative than just following what everybody else is doing. And so failure and iteration is very much a part of what we try and do every day. Um, and I think career growth, right? I look at some of these past losses, like trying to start a Twitter account or this pants company, and like, you when you put your name on something, I think there's a lot of pride and ego that goes into that to say, okay, this has to be perfect, or man, I'm going to be embarrassed if it's not great, or are people going to judge me? And I think what you come to learn over time is a lot of the great people that you look up to, and great entrepreneurs or founders, or respected people in any field, had to start somewhere. It's not like you just magically are really good at anything. And I have a strong belief that for the majority of us, these aren't things that like you can learn by reading. There are a lot of things that you have to learn by doing. And so like failure is actually part of that process. Something that I'm, that I do every day and that I'm passionate about is I'm active on LinkedIn. Obviously that's where we connected, Joseph. And when I post on LinkedIn every day. When I first started posting on LinkedIn, like it's exposing, you put yourself out there, it's vulnerable, it's like, oh wow, my post got 0 likes, quote unquote could be a failure, right? But the learning and how I frame that is like me posting every day on LinkedIn is not to get likes. Like this is an opportunity for me to work on my writing capabilities every day. And
Wow.
you know what? Like a year later, like I hear a lot of comments and compliments. People are like, "You're a really good writer." And you know what? Like I've never been called that before.
Hmm.
And that only came after kind of just putting in the day-to-day grind, and like not treating these failures as personal and as ego failures, but reframing the situation to say, okay, this is an opportunity to just establish the building blocks to get really good at something over time. And so, yeah, we definitely try and take that approach, everywhere. And we have a small team, so it's easy, but I'm always saying, just go and try it. And if it fails, like, that's okay. Like we will learn, and then we'll get better, right? Better and
Right.
more efficient.
Yeah, and that's interesting to your point earlier about, with Forage, right? Whenever you're instructing the team to test things out, that's how you, from personally, that's how you create a unique product. And that, I think that's the reason why Forage was conceptualized, because,
Hmm.
it took many failure attempts before you were able to, to do that, to, your product, the granola product. So, which is awesome. And, to also, we have a similar experience with regard to writing and all. So, I use, by trade, I was a salesperson. And, I learned that, writing is, another attribute, that I could also do. So, and I just learned that by, sending out emails and, doing these posts and things like that. So, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, and yeah, it's all about just reframing, right? How you think about it.
Totally. And, going back to Forge, what's your mantra? How do you solve, um, challenges in today's modern era?
Yeah, it's a good question. Someone actually who I'm close with, I saw posted about this on LinkedIn today, but I'm a huge believer that like somebody else has solved the problem that you're working on. And so if I really have a problem that I'm not sure what to do, I will just get off the computer and I'll pick the phone up and I'll start calling people and say, hey man, this is what I'm looking at, or hey, this is what I'm looking at. Have you done this before? Do you know anyone? So for us, right, I mentioned, or maybe I mentioned earlier, like we have an opportunity to kind of potentially expand into Asia with Forage, and
Mhm.
I have no idea even where to start with some of the due diligence. And so I just started picking up the phone last night and calling people. And now today I'm actually at like 3 or 4 follow-ups with people who have done business in Asia in the food business, and like I'm now following up with email, and like I'm getting meetings to just say, where do I even start? What do I even do? Right. And helping, enabling other people to help me solve these problems.
Nice. And going back to Asia, we can talk offline. I'll send you some pictures about the oyster mushrooms we're cultivating. So
Cool. Yeah, that'd be
okay,
awesome.
that's awesome. I do believe there's a lot of value that you can bring to the table, especially in helping sustainability and also scarcity, because you're creating alternative sources. So where can they find you? And the website, address, email address, and other socials.
Yeah, I'm really if you want to personally engage or chat with me, I'm really active on LinkedIn. My last name, as mentioned, my last name, it's just Parker Olson, Olson. Um, and our website is forij.co, forij.co. If you're interested in our products, we really focus on brain health and brain nutrients, and then also vitamin D. So all of our products are a good source of vitamin D, and have brain nutrients that actually help your brain cells and your neurons grow. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check out our website. Yeah, and if you're interested in any like psilocybin peer coaching, or interested in looking to use psilocybin medicinally, or chatting with a doctor, as you absolutely should, I'm always happy to chat, or point you in the direction of resources. So yeah, lots of places to reach, but primarily LinkedIn and the website.
Awesome. And to our listeners, we'll also include the links to the description so you can easily inquire to Parker. And that's it for now. Parker, I understand you're busy, so I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. And hopefully, we can carve out another second episode with, other topics as well. And, if you have any suggestions, if you have any topics, feel free to comment. This is going to be in YouTube. Feel free to rate as well. This is be on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Again, guys, thank you so much. This is Joseph. You're listening to Set to Fail podcast. Have a great
Good.
day,
Thanks for
everyone.
having me, Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you, Parker. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
And there you have it. We hope you enjoyed and learned a lot in this episode. And if you did, please subscribe to YouTube, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment, also reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcast. This would really help the show to continue creating more and more insightful content for us to learn together. Thank you very much. Have a great day.